Hello, everybody. How you guys doing today? Another beautiful day. Fortunately, people in the Northeast, that snow got you guys. But hey, down south in Atlanta, it's cold, but we're good. I have another interview that I'm doing tonight. What's going on, Cuzzo? How you doing, bro? I have another interview that I'm doing tonight. I'm doing with a lady that's from Northern California, I believe around the Oakland area, the Bay Area. Her name is Suzette Chaumette. I believe she's on right now. So let's bring her in. She's another one of our caregivers. I want to talk about her story, see what she has to bring to the table for us. I'm very excited to get her on. Let's bring her in. So let's see what's going on. Hopefully she's joyous like I am today, and we get some great interview questions in. Suzette, how you doing, little
Hey
lady?
Greg, how are you? It's good to
I'm
see you.
well. I'm well. I'm well. What's going on with you today? How's the weather out
Uh,
there?
it rained last night for the first time in a very long time. We don't get much rain these days, but it's good. It's good. How about you?
Oh, it's good out here in Atlanta. It's about 30 degrees, but I'm not in the Northeast, and what the snow they got up there. I'm glad I'm not there. So
Yeah,
I'm
I heard
good.
that they got more snow today than they have in a year, something like that in Central
Yeah,
Park.
'cause I was up there
Crazy.
last year, and it wasn't a lot of snow. So I'm glad I'm down south now. I'm
Yeah.
pretty joyous about that. So welcome to our little series that I have. What I'm doing here is basically talking to different caregivers for stroke
Uh-huh.
survivors to find out, about their life, how it changed, you
Yeah.
know, and what kind of feedback that you could give back to other people that's finding themselves being a caregiver for a stroke survivor.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Suzette, let's introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and
Yeah.
why you on the show with us today. Who are you a caregiver?
Oops. So my name is Suzette Chaumette. I am from Oakland, California, and I'm a caregiver for my dad. Um, I started being his caregiver in 2016 and have been at it ever since. I just recently found another caregiver to give me some relief because as
Oh,
one person who was working with him for so long, I just needed to have a little bit of support.
okay. So let me ask you, how did 2016, so it's about 4 years, how did it feel bringing your dad home from the hospital and being a caregiver? How did that actually feel? What was going through your mind at that time?
Is there is there cussing allowed?
You can do whatever you want to do, man. Go ahead, speak your mind.
It was crazy as fuck to find
Mhm.
out because the very first thing that I got was a phone call from my stepmother who said, "Have you seen your father?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, he left yesterday, and he hasn't been back." And so the first time that I knew something was wrong was kind of an emergency situation. I was at a conference at work, and all of a sudden had to get on the phone, started calling the police and hospitals, and couldn't find him. And after 36 hours, we finally got a call from the
Whoa.
hospital, yeah, that he was there. Um, and so, when I got in contact with him, I asked him, well, what happened? How come you didn't call anybody to let them know that you were there? He said, I don't know what happened. I guess I was just in shock and I didn't even really think to call. So that's when I knew something wasn't quite right because he would have ordinarily called at least to say, here's where I am. Um, it and then my life completely changed at that point. It took me, I think, 2 months after that to quit my job. I had to, not only because of the physical work that I needed to do, but it was an emotional strain. I couldn't think straight. And a big part of my regular jobby job is that I'm a public health researcher, and it required me to be a lot more on than I I couldn't think about other people's issues because I was thinking so much about what was going on with my dad. And at that time, he was 77 years old.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So you want to ask me some more questions? Because I could just keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you more questions. Trust me, I'm gonna
Okay.
ask you more questions.
Okay.
Just listening to you, what you're telling me.
Okay.
So what exactly happened to your dad?
So for that incident, he actually had he had some cardiac event where he had to have a pacemaker put in.
Hmm.
And that was at the time, or at that time is when I found out that he had had a stroke, but not one that was severe. So not one that
Hmm.
had really impacted his life in the
Hmm.
way that I thought, because my dad would never really tell me the truth about what was going on with him. He would always have some lighthearted way of saying, "Oh, I'm doing all right." He'd always have some joke and he would distract from what was going on. So I felt like I was caught off guard when he actually needed my help because I didn't have the training. That was the first thing. I did not know how to do the things that he needed me to do except just be there. And a lot of people would say to me, "All you got to do is just be there." But it's not just being there.
Exactly.
It's a lot of physical work. It's a lot of emotional work. Cause see, I had dad baggage too. Like we didn't have a great relationship when I was growing up. He was very much a provider, but he wasn't like my daddy. Like I wasn't close to my dad like that. So all of a sudden to have him need me in a way that I wasn't ready to be needed was really hard
So yeah, you
because
bring up a great point right now because I'm
yeah.
thinking about myself as a father, and I have two daughters. They're very young; they don't have to take care of me, but it seems to me like you're the first one that I interviewed right now that basically had to take care of their father. But one thing that you're telling me now is that your relationship with your dad wasn't all that good. Now you're trying to take care of a person that you guys didn't really have a good relationship. So now everything that happened in the past, you really have to get rid of. And now you have to be a person that is his all in all. And that's a hard transition for a lot of people that probably can't do that. So I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I'm getting that basically whatever relationship you have with a person before, if something like this happens and you have to take care of them, you have to forget about all that and concentrate on the future. So with that being said, am I right?
You have to, I would say you got to forget about it. You have to adjust your thinking. Um, and it was hard, for example, my dad was really very strict when I was younger. So whenever he would call me after his stroke, I would get anxious. Like I could feel like, oh shoot, he's going to need something from me. And I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can deliver the way he needs me to. And on his side, he had kind of grown out of being that authoritative man. He still had the same voice, but he had grown a lot in his own life. And I think with the vulnerability of being a stroke survivor, he was reevaluating whether or not he needed to hold on to all those things. So he also was pouring out a whole lot of love that I was not used to. So,
Yeah, because
he was just
he
like,
saw death.
yeah,
He
he's
saw
like,
death
"You're here
and he
for
changed.
me. I
Yeah.
love you. Thank you for being here." He was just so appreciative. And every time I would leave his house, he would tell me how much he appreciated my presence. "It's so good to have you here." And I'm like, "Who are you talking to?" Because you didn't ever used to talk to me like that.
Well,
So,
that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting because now I'm really diving into this because like for me, I had the same type of experience with my children and my ex-wife. I was one particular way, and I might not have been that comforting or nurturing to them, but now I see life differently. So my whole perspective is different.
yeah,
And when you said that you had to readjust the way you thought about things about him,
yeah,
because if you didn't, and if you kept on keeping yourself in the past, that really would affect how you could actually take care of this particular man.
yeah, yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah. And it has not been an easy journey. 4 years later, I'm still challenged by the anxiety and not having him be the one who drives how I take care of him, right? Because my dad has changed, and one of the things that I thought a lot about is when we have parent baggage, sometimes we hold on to it so hard, and we also get used to living with it, right? Like we know, okay, this is the wounded part of me that has had to learn how to, I don't know, do things on my own. And now this person wants to really be there for me, but I don't know how to accept that, because if you haven't been around all this time, I kind of learned to live without you.
Mm,
And now you want me to need you in your final days. And I want to deliver, but I don't know how to need you because I haven't for so long.
mm. So Desiree says something on here. She said, "A stroke will do that to you." Is very. She was a very strict parent, and she had to forgive herself or learn how to forgive herself. I had to do
Mm,
the same thing. This is things that I'm doing myself as well too. Um,
mm-hmm.
so even with you, what you're saying, like, it, it really makes me want to think about how my relationship with my daughters are now. Like, they see me and they're like, "Daddy, you're different." I'm like, yeah, I'm different, and I'm trying to explain it to them, but they're 14, 15 years old, and it's hard for
Mm-hmm.
them to actually process that. But
Mm-hmm.
you seem like you found a way to process that. So let me ask you something. What is your goal with your dad right now? Like, obviously, you said it's 4 years and you're still having some adjustments that you have to do. But what is your goal that you want to actually get to with your dad and say, okay, I am comfortable now, I am relaxed, he's relaxed, and this is our life where we're going to be. What is that? What does that look like?
At this point, my goal is to see him have the best quality of life that he can,
Mm-hmm.
without compromising my own quality of life too much, because it,
Mm-hmm.
it has been in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Also to not hold the resentment in the way that I did in the past, because he is a new person, and we
Right.
all want to be able to be forgiven for the things that we've done wrong. Like, nobody wants to be remembered for the worst things they've done.
Right.
We all want an opportunity to remake ourselves. So my goal for him is, one, to make sure he has the kind of care that he needs now. So the reason why I had to pull back is because his needs got more severe. So he had another stroke in September. So that was
Of
his
this.
third stroke. It's my birthday weekend. I said I am not going to answer my phone this weekend because it's my birthday weekend. I'm going to just take it off. I didn't answer the phone, and he was calling me. And
Wow.
by the time I got the message, it was clear that his voice was slurred.
Wow.
And I felt awful because I wasn't there. And he was still trying to make jokes afterward. But I felt like, damn, I should have been there. And I've been trying to forgive myself for not picking up the phone. And I told him, look, Dad, if you ever have another emergency, please call 911. If you can call me,
You
just
can
call
call me.
911. Don't
Absolutely.
call me, because I might not
Absolutely.
be able to help you. And even if I pick up the phone, I'm going to call 911. So I would say the goal for him is to help him live the best he can right now. The goal for me is to be a little softer with myself about what I
With
can do and what I
yourself.
can't.
What,
Hmm.
what, what, what do you mean by that with yourself? Be softer with yourself. What do you mean?
I think sometimes I'm hard on myself for not showing up more. I think I think I sometimes want to be something that I'm not, in terms of being a better caregiver. And like I said, this was never something I even knew how to do. So let me give you an example. The other night, I had to diaper him for the first time. So this is the new thing from his last stroke, is that his incontinence has gotten worse. And partially it's because he can't move as fast to get to the bathroom. So there's a lot of things that we're having to just make adjustments for. And he decided that he wanted to wear an adult diaper at night so that he would reduce the risk of falling at night. Because falling was another thing. We can talk about that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So his caregiver told me how to get the diaper on. So when I put it on him, it was all up his back, right? So there was nothing in the front and it was just going up his back. And I was like, oh, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm going to have you roll again. And he's a big man. So get him to roll over. I get the diaper to come down. And then it's too far to the left. So I try to pull it and it broke. And
And this
all
is a
I could
grown man
do,
you're dealing with right now.
I was like, Dad, I am so sorry. I just don't know how to do it. And remember, we're not even saying the word diaper. We're not even saying the word incontinence together. Because as an aside, I had never seen my dad's parts before. Like that wasn't part of our relationship at all. So now all of a sudden I'm having to clean him and pretend like I'm not seeing anything.
Right.
Because we can't talk like that. So when I say I'm trying to be softer with myself, it's recognizing all of who I am and all that I bring to this equation, that it's okay for me to be a wounded child who's now an adult, who is sometimes still feeling the pain of that child who felt like my dad just always worked. He didn't take me out. He didn't do those things that I would have wanted him to do when I was younger. And also being able to say it's cool to have another story too.
So
These are
now I got two ways I'm going with this here.
okay. And I'm talking a
One,
lot, so
no, that's fine. One, as a man, I get where your father is coming from and how he is,
yeah.
and the relationship that you guys had,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to cope with it yourself and try to say, okay, he needs me. I need to be this caregiver. And it seems like you're putting your father-daughter relationship to the side to help the needs of him. Um, and I commend you on that. But for you to do that, are you getting counseling so you can actually deal with those demons that you have from your past?
I need it. The short answer is no, but I would recommend to anybody who's caregiving for a parent, get some support. Um, I wouldn't say it's dealing with the demons from the past. I would say it's dealing with the demons of the present.
Okay.
Fighting this sense of I don't want you to need me so much. I don't want you to want to do things for me, because he still really wants to now be my daddy. Like, he is at the point where he's like, let me do everything that I didn't do. And he bought me some little spoons right before my birthday, and he said, I just wanted to give you these spoons because he knows I like to drink coffee in these little cups. And he says, I'm giving you these spoons, just please let me, because I know I broke your heart and I just want to give
Mhm.
these to you. And I was like, you should have said that when I was 15. You know? But he was giving this very genuine admission that I think I always wanted, but didn't know how to handle it. Because I'm 48. So
You're
I've had a
48,
lot
you're
of,
lucky.
I've had a lot of time
Right.
to, and thank you, by the way, shea
Mhm.
butter. I've had
Nice, nice.
I've had a lot of time to mend my my wounds, right? Fix myself, I think. And so, but hearing him say, "I know I broke your heart." Yes, and I see Irical Child says, let him, he's making amends. Yeah, it's so true. And I have to, because I also recognize he doesn't have that much more time. So if he wants to say sorry and he wants to, you know, get things that he thinks are going to make me happy, because it's every call now, like, what can I do for you? And he's getting his speech back, which is great. He's working very, very hard. So
So
yeah.
let me slow you down because it seemed like
Okay.
Desiree
I'm
saying the
going
same thing
everywhere.
I'm saying too because she's a stroke survivor as well, so she
Mm,
understands what your dad is going through, what he's trying to accomplish.
mm,
And
mm-hmm,
I don't know if this has been explained to you or not, but what we're trying to do is that honestly, we been at death's door and we
mm-hmm,
understand all the stuff that we have done in our life and we want to try to take it back. We're trying to replay our life all over again, try to get our life back and
mm-hmm.
trying to make amends to all the people that we hurt. So what he's trying to do right now is really, really and sincerely be that person that
Mm-hmm.
he never was to, and he's recognizing that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you allow him to be that way and you allow him to come back into his own and you can forgive him, honestly forgive him, your life and his life will be much better. But if you're holding on to that guilt,
Yeah,
that's gonna be
so
tough.
that's the tricky thing, because I've forgiven him. I'm not mad at him for any of what he's done in the past. I think what comes up is more, how did I cope with it without him? So how did I live all these years without needing my dad? So I became much more self-sufficient, didn't ask anybody for anything, counted on myself, very self-reliant, right? Like, I don't need anybody.
Are you married?
Uh-huh.
Are you married?
So I
Kids?
I am
You have
two.
kids? Okay.
Uh-huh. Two children. Yep. So I just was like, I don't really need, I don't need anybody. And he needs me to need him. And so I'm also trying to find ways to need him where I haven't. So I'm forgiving him, but I'm like, how can I let the walls down a little bit instead of being like, no, I got this. I'm good. I can figure this out. Where he's saying, but you don't have to figure it out. So we're finding some ways. Like, he's really good in business. So now whenever I have a business question, I'll throw it at him, and then we can brainstorm together. That way he feels like he's useful to me and in my life, and then I come back and I say to him, look, that really worked. So it's,
I get it.
yeah, I think I'm talking more about the process and kind of where I'm getting, but each
I feel like
interaction
we're doing a
can.
therapy session.
What's that?
I feel like we're doing a therapy session right now.
Wait, who's a therapist? You or me?
I don't know. One of us are. Me, you, or Desiree. One of us are. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's good that you actually see this because like a lot of people like for instance with my situation and Desiree said I think she said she went through a divorce and she had problems talking with her children as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had issues with my ex-wife before my stroke, and then when my stroke happened, it was really bad. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make amends with it, but I was tired of all the other stuff that was happening, so I just let that
Mm.
go. But as you can't because it's your dad, and your dad needs it. And you say he was what 77, and this happened this year, so he's what 81,
He's 81.
and huh?
Yeah, 81.
So you're trying to make sure that his latter years are great, and you're not trying to take that away from him. And he's
Right,
your dad, so you can't walk away. You can't divorce him. So I
right.
get it. So now what you're telling me is that you're in the process of learning how to cope with what your life has turned into. You learn how to be self-sufficient. You learn how to not rely on dad. You learn how to do everything on your own. And now he wants to give you all these things. You're like, I don't need that. I needed that when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. But you still don't allow him to do it. So I commend you on that. I really respect you for that. What does Trezana saying? Sometimes we just have to let things go without apologies. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, and you looking at your dad, you looking at him like, well, I know you was a arrogant prick, and you was very, very to yourself, but you provided for me, you made sure I had this, that, and another, but when it came to dating boys or if I had any problems, you wasn't there for me. That's what I needed, and that could be still churning in your head. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
now he doesn't even think that way. And if you really think that way still about him, he don't know what you're talking about. And that could bring conflict between you and him.
Right. And we don't even go there. Um,
Good, good.
we don't even go there. Like I
Good.
I can say I have not brought to him the bad things that he did in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm not taking him to task on any of those things. I think enough time has passed where he can do his own thinking about how he was around or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he did say something one day, and I just said, Dad, I'm not really prepared to have that conversation because it was something deep. I can't even remember, but he said something, and I was just like, please, I can't I can't do that because I was already feeling really emotional about being there for him. Like, look, as a caregiver, as you know, there are a lot of things that happen to the person you're caring for that they don't fully know how to deal with. So my dad, there were things like even spills. He would spill things a lot. And, I would come in and there would be coffee all over the floor or mango juice all over the floor. And it was just a task every time I would go there. And I, you know, just kept thinking, I know he doesn't want to spill. And what kept coming up for me was just like, how would I feel if I were in this situation and my hands didn't work the way that I felt like they should? If I was telling my hand, grab this cup and it wouldn't do it, how would that feel to me? And that's what got me through those moments to not be like, damn, there's more stuff on the floor, just I had to stop myself and say, I know he wouldn't do this just to make my life hard,
Right.
So
So you really took the emotions out of it. You really took the emotions out of it. You start thinking logically about
yeah, yeah, in the moment, but then it was when I would get in the car that I'd fall apart, you know, and then would be cranky, would feel demoralized, you know, um,
it. You breaking up. I don't know
just
if your
because.
connection's going bad or what.
Uh-oh, is
You're
this any
getting choppy.
better?
I don't know.
Oh
It was
no.
your connection. Your connection got
Let me
choppy.
see. Is it any better?
You're good
Let
now.
me see. Okay. Okay.
Why you think that? Yeah.
Um,
Desiree basically had the same issues with me. She said her wife left her, and everything just got bad from there. And she has to do this on her own, and
hmm.
she still drops everything as well. So that's a common thing. Like, and I guess all of us go through that because I drop things all the time as well too. But let me ask you a
Mm-hmm.
question, and I'm very curious about how you answer this.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure because he's older and he's up in age, but
Yeah.
when you look at your dad
I gotta
and you
move around.
see him do things,
Mm-hmm.
and you see him do things, and you see things that he's not able to do, things that he is able to do you look at him and say,
Uh-huh.
well, you can do it, or do you like, I get that you can, and you just can't do it at this time? How do you go to that? And
It
you
depends on
smile
the
and
situation. Yeah, it depends on the situation. Um, there are times when he'll want, I'm sorry, I gotta move because I gotta get a charger. There are times when he will just leave stuff on the floor, for example, right? And I'm like, Dad, you gotta at least put it in the trash. And so what we'll do is go through this exercise of, okay, how do we put things in the trash? Where do they go? Like, it can go here, food can go there. So we just do like a retraining almost,
hmm
because I still want him to feel like he is taking part. I don't want to,
that is good.
yeah, I don't want to disable him
That is good. I
by
like that.
saying, I just got to do everything for you. So I'll be like, come on now. You could put this paper in this trash can right here. And he'll be like, all right. So now he'll say to me, I I just oh I've been taking care of the garbage for you so that you don't have to do it all. And when I come in, there's still stuff on the floor, but he'll show me the two pieces of paper that he got into the trash, and I'm like, thanks for helping. But sometimes I'll grumble and be like, but there's still like a stuff on the floor. But that's human nature. I can't act like I'm no perfect caregiver now, because I'm not.
I
Far
didn't.
from it.
I'm just trying to figure out how it is. That's
Yeah.
all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other question I have, I guess, is a combination with that. And I think you touched on it a little bit, but when you're making decisions for him, do you
Uh-huh.
involve him or do you just do it?
No, I involve him. And I still give him, not give him, what I have asked for decisions that are being made, like medical decisions, his doctor calls me first, tells me what it is that they're going to ask him about or schedule for him. And then I tell them to call him because he still likes to keep his calendar. So
Yes.
they'll just let me know, we're going to call him to come in for such and such. And I say, okay, great. Now I know, I can write it down. And then I follow up with him. Hey, did you make your appointment for such and such? How do you want to deal with it? Now, he recently
Yeah.
took his car out.
What happened? What happened? Tell me what happened.
So
Tell me what
he,
happened.
he, so he knows I don't let him drive. I always get in the driver's seat and I take
Right.
him to the side and get him in. But he got this new caregiver who didn't know. So she
And
she sent me a note and was like, "Your dad is driving. We're about to go to the copy place." I was like, "What?"
he was ready to go, smiling.
He
Hmm
was happy.
Oh
He
yeah.
drove hecka far. I mean, not hecka far for me. So it must have been like, I don't know, 8 or 9 miles. And she was texting
Oh
me the
yeah.
whole time.
He was in hog heaven. He was in hog heaven.
He sure was. He was like,
Uh-huh.
I am driving this car. She said he ran up on the curb. He
Oh my
ran
God.
a light. Luckily, nobody got hurt.
Was she wearing a diaper?
She needed one that day.
Yeah, she did. She out of control with that one.
Man, but when I was like, no, he can't be driving, she's like, wait, he's not supposed to be driving? But no, girl, she said, he told her, don't tell Suzette that we're
Yeah.
going out. And I said, that should be the first sign. If he tells you
First
don't
time
tell
right there.
Suzette,
Don't tell him.
he's
Yeah.
not supposed to be
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another thing too. Like you
Yeah.
have to really give instruction to people, and he can't be around when you give those instructions.
Um, yeah, or I say, Dad, you're not supposed to be driving, right? So I'm gonna tell her that you're not supposed to be driving, and it's for your safety. It's not because
But
I
how,
don't think you're a great driver,
but how do you
but you're
really
not.
handle that? Because it sounds like he's a man's man, and you're basically telling him that he's a child. How do you handle that? How do you handle his ego?
Um, well, I handle his ego. I mean, I'm not trying to treat him like a child, right?
Right.
I turn it into a little bit of a joke,
So you put on
because
that big old smile. That's what you do.
that's
You
what
put
I
on that baby
do.
face smile. Yeah, you put on
That's
that
what I
baby face
do.
smile.
We're like,
I got it.
Dad,
I got it. Yeah, yeah,
you can't drive.
yeah.
And I do,
That
you know
melt
what?
his heart.
I kill him with kindness, though. It's true.
Yeah,
When I need
yeah.
him to do something, I'll just be like, Dad, come on. And let me tell you how I got him to let her drive him back home. Because
Okay.
she was rattled by the time they got to where they got.
Of course she was.
So I thought to myself, I can either tell him, Dad, you just had another stroke. You just had another stroke like 2 weeks ago. You have no business driving anyway. Because this was 2 weeks post
Yeah,
stroke,
yeah.
or less. And so I said, check this out. If you let her drive you home, I will buy you some cherry vanilla ice cream and I'll put it in a cone and get you some sprinkles. But that means you can't drive home.
Right.
And he was like, ah. I said, look, I'll even throw in some caramel sauce. Promise.
But yeah,
And he let her drive home. You got to use what
those
you
things
got.
work. Those things work. Like
They,
I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, like if my daughter's really, or if anybody comes to me sweet and tender with not that aggression,
yeah,
I'm gonna melt in your hands. I'm gonna go with you. But if you come with that aggression and try to fight me, I'm a man's man. I'm gonna fight you back.
right, right, right.
And I get that. I'm glad that you understand that because that was a serious situation. He's driving a car. He could have killed somebody or could have
He
killed
could have.
himself.
Yeah,
And instead of you just lashing out at him like a little child, you treat him like a man. You allow him to be a man and be and use tender and soft to him. I get it. I commend you on that.
let me
I
say
commend you on that.
the thing that I've learned over and over again is that nobody wants to be sick.
Mm,
Nobody. And nobody wants to feel that they're less than who they are, less of a man, less of a woman than who they are. And they've
right,
lost a lot.
right,
And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges with being a caregiver is to remember that on a regular basis. Because look, my husband also has a chronic condition, and I can say that some of what you just said about having somebody come at you with aggression, I'm guilty with that of that with him, especially when he's doing too much. You know, like when he's doing too much that hurts his body more. I'm like, why are you doing that? I
right.
don't give him the ice cream and sprinkles. I'll be like, can you just lay down?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You sound like you're from the East Coast. You don't sound like you're from the West Coast when you talking. But go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I get it. And I guess that's another conversation for another time. But, when you're dealing with a spouse,
Um,
it's
it's a
totally
whole
different
different
than,
thing. It's a whole
yeah,
different
I
thing.
can
And you
imagine.
know what? We should have that conversation because that's a whole different caregiving conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And we could do that. But for my
Okay.
dad, first, he knows he can't always have ice cream either because he has diabetes. So he
So,
knows that if I'm saying to him, I'm gonna get you some ice cream, he knows that I'm going out on like, look, I'm gonna do the thing you're not even supposed to do.
yeah, we're both going to be bad today. I don't
Yeah,
need you to do bad behind the wheel of the car. I get that.
right, at all. Please don't, because we can't have the caregiver getting hurt. She's got 3 children.
Oh,
She's
gosh.
scared because she thinks I'm about to fire her for letting you drive. There's a whole lot going on here. So let's just make this as safe as possible, you know?
Right, right.
So, yeah.
So let me ask you something. Because we're almost close to our time, what would you have
Already?
done differently? Yeah, it's
What
about
would I
40
have done
minutes.
differently? What would I
Yeah.
have done differently? I think I would have enlisted help earlier, gotten another caregiver earlier, even though it took me 2 years to find a good one. That's another thing that people don't recognize. There's not a whole bunch of caregivers just flooding the system. And not a
Nope.
lot of good ones either, because they're only
Nope.
making like $14 an hour. At least that's what
Yeah.
it is out here, $14, $15, and they just got
That's
a
about left
raise.
out here.
So you're talking about people who are doing a lot of physical and emotional labor who aren't being paid that much.
Yes.
Um, but I would say I would have enlisted a team earlier of people who could do different things. Somebody to do laundry, somebody to do the grocery shopping, somebody to come in for personal care like bathing, and somebody else for cleaning. And then I might have been just the emotional support person, being the daughter that he needed me to be, and visiting and spending time with, and doing little outings with. So I think I would have gotten more people to help with the other things that come along that get left behind, you know,
Mm.
because I took everything on. I took
And
everything
that's
on.
definitely the wrong move. You correct with that. That's
It
definitely
was the
the
wrong
wrong
move,
move.
and I
Wow.
quit my job.
Yeah, you burn yourself.
Um, all that. So
Yeah,
more people.
absolutely. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right. So as we're closing out, Suzette, this is a great conversation. I do want to have you back on another time. But
Okay,
as we're
I'd love
closing
to.
this out, what do you want to leave with everybody else besides that? Getting the team. What else do you want to leave? You want to leave an impression on people that maybe their child or their spouse or their parent has just had a stroke. What do you want to give them? What else?
I would say find a support group. Um, and caregiving is the best and hardest job you will ever do, and you're not alone. You are not alone. Um, and also for the people who are being cared for, you are not alone either. And the more that each of you can have gratitude for one another in whatever form it comes, that's probably the thing that I would say is just appreciate the time that you have together, because it is not promised. And walk a lot. Get outside. Get outside. My whole page, Reduce Reuses, is all about getting outside and making sure that you get into the elements, because being outside makes you feel a lot less closed in. And yeah, that's what I would offer. And laugh if you can. Watch some old and living color. That's what I did.
Don't take life
Yeah.
too serious, right? I get it.
I mean, there's enough serious stuff, but find some things that you can laugh at every once in a while.
Yeah, I agree. I second the notion with Desiree. She's saying that y'all are awesome. I completely agree with you.
Thank
You
you.
guys are awesome. I really appreciate you guys. And you're like the first person that won my caregiver basket. And I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you still have
Yeah,
the
I
remnants of it.
still do have it. I was thinking
Oh,
about it
okay,
this
cool,
morning. I still
cool,
got some things. Yep.
cool. But that's
My
the
toes are
reason
a
why
lot
I did
happier.
that. And the reason why I did that is because of that. And I'm glad you're smiling. Um,
Yeah.
I understand, and I believe Desiree understands it as well. We understand how much your life has changed because you kind of help us out. And I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that you guys are recognized because nobody really
Thank
recognizes
you.
you. And we
Thank
love you
you.
guys. And we really appreciate you guys each and every day. You know, we might cuss you out. We might do things to you that makes you go like, what the heck is wrong? Trust me, we don't really mean it. It's just sometimes we're just frustrated with ourselves, and we are frustrated with what we can't do anymore. And
Mm,
you're the closest person to us, so we take it out on you. So
mm,
I just want to let you
yeah.
know you are loved, you are
Thank you.
appreciated, and please, please don't give up.
Thank you. Thank
Love you,
you.
sister.
Thank you. Love you back. Thank you so much. Have a good
No
night.
doubt, man. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Take care now.